When it comes to what you feel like the day after the national championship, a lot of emotions. If your team won, you probably feel an immense amount of joy and probably immense amount of relief, and you probably feel an immense amount of gratitude. Like overall, there's probably a lot of good vibes. But there's also probably the reality that when it comes to the day after, there's that empty feeling of, man, well, we got to wait a long time until we get to see these teams play again, until we get college football back on our TV. So that hurts transparently. But the other thought here is, what does the future hold? Like once the dust settles on this thing and that trophy is back in its rightful place for the folks in Ann Arbor and how they feel about that, capturing their first national title since the 1990s. This is an outright championship, by the way. What's next for Michigan? And I think a lot of people are asking the question around what's next for Michigan in regards to Jim Harbaugh and J.J. McCarthy. And I just want to make sure we're very clear about this. The formula that Michigan had this past season, it will work again next year. I understand the playoffs expanding, conference realignment, the tectonic plates, they're shifting. The Big Ten's going to switch up a little bit with Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. What Michigan did this year will translate to next year's style of play, especially if you get J.J. McCarthy and or Jim Harbaugh back, because they're kind of at a crossroads right now. Because for both those guys, you have to imagine the inevitable feeling they have this morning is job's finished. Because how often do we hear that same thing being said throughout the course of the last 2 years for Michigan? Hey, job's not finished. We're happy with this win. Job's not finished. Heard that after the win in Columbus last year. Heard that after the Rose Bowl win this year. Like, job's now finished. They're on the top of college football. There is nothing left to be said about what Michigan has done this season. Mic drop. So if you're either one of those guys, you feel like you've checked your final box at a place like Michigan. So the vibes for both these guys, for Jim Harbaugh and J.J. McCarthy, I think across the board here going into this game was if they win, they're probably on to what's next. And what's next for both these guys would be the NFL. Like for Jim Harbaugh, you just can't help but feel like the NCAA is going to make it tough. Now, what that looks like, we're completely speculating and guessing going forward, but you have to imagine they're going to make it tough on Jim Harbaugh. And there's also a lot of jobs available for him. Like we see it in the NFL, man, there's no shortage of options for where he could land next. And you also say this for him, like he's a competitor. Competitors want to win the ultimate prize. And Jim Harbaugh has now conquered college football. Who could blame him if he wants to go try and win a Super Bowl? He was a play away from doing that against his brother not that long ago. Like, who could blame him if he wants to chase what all competitors chase, which is that next thing, which is that next challenge, because he's conquered this one. So the vibes would make sense there. Now, for J.J. McCarthy, kind of the same thing. Where there's smoke, there's fire. A lot of people that study NFL, that are NFL draft gurus, they put J.J. McCarthy in that first-round category. I've seen people talk about him being a top 10 guy. If that's your stock, brother, like, who are we to say don't go to the NFL? Who are we to say don't go make millions of dollars and achieve your dream of being a first-round NFL draft pick and being an NFL quarterback? Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's that, and there's also the job's finished feeling for him as well. Like, he was a guy that seemed to take it extremely personal when Michigan lost last year against TCU. He was out on the field watching the celebration as the confetti fell. He took the press conference last year post-game against TCU and said, I promise you we will be back here. Like, this was a mission for him, and now they've accomplished that mission. So that's the way it feels. And again, if they both go to the NFL, I don't think anybody in Ann Arbor would fault either one of them by nature of what they brought back there. But my opinion on this thing, which is not a prediction, my opinion for both these guys is why not both come back? Why not both come back? And I understand we just walked through why it would make sense. And I am not predicting what they're going to do. But if you walk this thing out, man, for Jim Harbaugh, his value as an NFL head coach, I don't think it's going anywhere. Like, I don't think if Michigan wins 8 games next year and the sky falls on what they did this past season, I can't imagine the NFL views him any differently. His track record as a head coach speaks for itself. Like, his sample size he's provided for NFL GMs going forward now, I mean, I don't think there's anything you have to say negative about him as an NFL head coach prospect. I think his stock is pretty stable. Is there a job in the NFL today that you 1,000% feel is better than your situation at Michigan, your alma mater, you just brought a national title back to? And you would have to think next year will at least be in contention for bringing another one back home, go back to back, like, has to be a little bit attractive. So my point here being, if there's not a better job than Michigan for you in the NFL right now, and you know that you're going to have probably a conversation the year after this year and the year after that, and you're always going to have an NFL prospect, why not come back for another season? Why not give it one more go? And I said this too before. I have zero doubts he could be a successful NFL head coach. Zero doubts. One, we've seen him do it. Two, I think the way that he is able to build rosters and the way that he's able to have a formula that's proven from different levels of football, from the FCS level with University of San Diego, then to the 49ers, his process works. That's true. But I would also say as a coach, just his style, he works great in college football. And I said this on a previous live show when we were in Nashville before leading up to this game, he's a weird dude. And I say that in the most endearing way possible. Jim Harbaugh is a little bit weird, but he's weird when it comes to college football. And I think he worked with college kids in the sense that he's got some skins on the wall, and now he's got a national championship on the wall. And kids respond to his quirkiness. Kids respond to the fact that he's talking about chicken being a nervous bird and talking about steak and milk being a vitamin he takes every day, and climbing trees in the backyards of recruits. And he's, taking the team to spring practice, or taking the team to Italy for spring practice. That's how he gets down. That's how he rolls. And the kids at Michigan, the college kids, they respond to that and they love that. I don't know how that plays in the NFL when you have players that make more money than you as a head coach, but I'm just saying it works in college. It works in college, and if you're looking to continue to stay happy at the collegiate ranks, I think that makes sense for Jim Harbaugh. Now, for J.J. McCarthy, I think this conversation is a little bit more nuanced. We see the room for him to elevate. And when I say that out loud, it sounds like I'm saying negative things about J.J. McCarthy. I promise you I'm not. I told you, NFL draft people, if they think he's a first-round guy and that's the grade he gets back, great. Go be an NFL quarterback and have a lot of success there. But we saw last night, 10 for 18, probably could have had a better stat line if his receivers had come down with a few, but you saw the room for growth. And I think we've seen for J.J. McCarthy too, this year was better than last year for him. Next year, whether Jim Harbaugh is there or not, Sharon Moore is going to call the offense, right? Barring something wildly unforeseen, he will have the same offensive coordinator. What does that mean for us? Continuity if we're J.J. McCarthy. Another chance to take another evolution, get even better, and embrace that and go into another class next year, which I think is wide open in terms of who could be QB1. Probably Quinn Ewers, assuming he's coming back. Probably Carson Beck in the mix there. Probably Shedeur Sanders. But, is there one guy definitively we're saying today he's the number one guy? Is there a Caleb Williams equivalent to this draft class next year? Because right now I see Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Sam Hartman, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., all in that quarterback, top five, that probably there's a conversation to be had of who's ahead of J.J. McCarthy and where does J.J. McCarthy stack up in that order. So I'm just saying, less crowded draft class, have a chance to go win another national title, have a chance to elevate your draft stock even more. It would make sense to me. How much better is his draft stock next year if he takes another evolution in his maturation process, gets even better, and they go back to back?
Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.